If the mighty Tyrannosaurus Rex and the gigantic Brontosaurus ever went toe-to-toe, who would win? If the mighty Tyrannosaurus Rex and the gigantic Brontosaurus ever went toe-to-toe, who would win? If you're ready to rumble, watch this T-Rex vs. Brontosaurus showdown. And don't forget to stay tuned for more amazing dino matchups. Who are they? The Brontosaurus, also called the Apatosaurus, was a huge plant-eating dinosaur that lived in what is now North America during the late Jurassic period. It was famous for its incredibly long neck and tail, which helped it reach high plants and keep its balance. Even though it was really heavy, maybe weighing as much as 30 tons, it could walk pretty well thanks to its strong legs. People used to think that the Brontosaurus was related to the Diplodocus, but now scientists say they're actually more closely related to the same Camarasaurus and Brachiosaurus. The name Brontosaurus means thunder lizard, and it was given by the guy who found the first bones in 1877. He thought the dino was so amazing that he wanted to show it off. But there was a problem. The dino was already named Apatosaurus, so he ended up calling it Brontosaurus. After studying the bones for many years, scientists started to think that Brontosaurus wasn't its own type of dino, but just a bigger version of the Apatosaurus. They looked so similar that people started calling them both by the same name again. The T-Rex, on the other hand, was a very scary Mediterranean dino that lived in what is now the western side of North America. It was a real bully, chasing after and eating other dinos like the Triceratops. The T-Rex was the king of the food chain, sitting at the top along with other big meat-eaters like the Spinosaurus. It hunted and ate lots of other dinos during the last part of the Cretaceous period. Even though it lived on the other side of the world and a lot later than the Brontosaurus, people still think about the awesome fight between a T-Rex and a Brontosaurus. How do they match up? First, let's talk about size. The Brontosaurus was a really big dino. Some people say it was longer than 70 feet, but most people say it was closer to 40 to 50 feet long. It was so tall that its head reached about the same level as a 2-story building, and it weighed about 30 tons. That's like having 6 fully grown African elephants stacked on top of each other. The T-Rex was also a big dino, but nowhere near as big as the Brontosaurus. It was more like 40 feet long and weighed around 9 tons. That's about the size of a school bus. So even though the T-Rex was a heavyweight, it was small compared to the Brontosaurus. Now let's look at their looks. Ack! The Brontosaurus had a super long neck that it used to chomp on plants. It also had a really long tail that might have been used for balance or to smack other dinos. Its body was kind of like a box with short arms and a tiny head. Even though it was a plant eater, it was still scary to look at. The T-Rex, on the other hand, had a really big head with huge jaws and sharp teeth. It was built for chasing and catching other dinos. Its arms were kind of small, but it didn't need them much, since it mainly used its jaws to grab prey. When it comes to who would win in a fight, it's all about the weapons. The Brontosaurus didn't have any special weapons, but it didn't need any. Size and weight were enough to scare away most predators. It was so huge that even a T-Rex wouldn't want to mess with it. The T-Rex, on the other hand, had some really cool weapons. Its sharp teeth were great for biting and ripping apart other dinos. It could easily cut through flesh and bone, and its strong jaws could crush bones like they were made of paper. Finally, let's talk about fighting style. The Brontosaurus was a plant eater, so it didn't really know how to fight. Probably tried to run away from danger or maybe use its tail to smack predators, but it wasn't really good at fighting. The T-Rex, on the other hand, was a hunter, so it knew how to catch and kill its prey. Could chase down a dino and bite it until it died. Could also use its teeth to grab a dino and shake it until it was too weak to move. Basically, the T-Rex was a pro at fighting and killing other dinos. So who would win in a fight? Well, this is where things get interesting. The Brontosaurus was huge and heavy, so the T-Rex couldn't just bite it and expect it to die right away. It would take a few bites and a lot of time to wear down the Brontosaurus. But the Brontosaurus wasn't good at fighting back. It might be able to land a few hits with its tail, but the T-Rex was too quick for that. Eventually, the T-Rex would get the upper hand and bite the Brontosaurus until it died. Now, this doesn't mean that the fight would be easy for the T-Rex. The Brontosaurus would put up a good fight and make the T-Rex work hard for its food. It would be a tough battle, but in the end, the T-Rex would win. It's important to remember that the T-Rex was a smart hunter and the Brontosaurus wasn't. The T-Rex would use its brain and skills to outsmart the Brontosaurus and get the win. What if the Brontosaurus was smarter? If the Brontosaurus was as smart as the T-Rex, things would be a lot more even. It would be able to dodge the T-Rex's attacks and maybe even land a few hits of its own. It would be a close fight, but I still think the T-Rex would win. It was a stronger and more aggressive dino, so I don't think even a smart Brontosaurus could beat it. What do you think? Who do you think would win in a fight? Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to stay tuned for more videos about amazing dinosaurs. What other dinos should we pit against each other next? Should we do a Stegosaurus vs Ankylosaurus matchup? Or maybe a Triceratops vs Carnotaurus one? Let me know what you think. And now for some fun facts about the T-Rex and the Brontosaurus. The T-Rex had tiny arms, but don't let that fool you. They were strong enough to hold up its heavy body. Scientists say that the T-Rex arms were so strong they could lift up to 250 pounds. That's heavier than a grown-up gorilla. The Brontosaurus was so huge that it needed lots of plants to stay alive. It ate about 10,000 pounds of plants every day. So that's like eating 10 hamburgers for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. The Brontosaurus was also really good at keeping itself safe. It was so big that most predators didn't want to mess with it. But when it did get attacked, it used its tail to defend itself. The tail was so strong it could smash through a wall like it was made of paper. The T-Rex was a noisy dino. It could make sounds like a lion or a bear when it roared. The roar was so loud it could be heard for miles. The T-Rex probably used its roar to scare other dinos, or to let everyone know that it was the king of the food chain. The Brontosaurus, on the other hand, was a quiet dino. It didn't make any loud noises or try to show off, just walked around munching on plants. Alright, it's time to wrap things up. Who do you think would win in a fight between a T-Rex and a Brontosaurus? Let me know in the comments. Now don't forget to stay tuned for more awesome dinosaur videos. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.